A West Michigan woman is sharing her experience tonight after her flight home from Amsterdam was forced to land because of a mechanical issue. For 24 long hours, she and fellow passengers remained within a Canadian province east of Quebec. They were eventually lodged in military barracks overnight. Earlier this evening, News 8's Taylor Morris sat down with the woman, and she's live in studio with more on this story. Taylor.
Brian, Delta Flight 135 was on its way to Detroit when it was diverted to Goose Bay Airport in eastern Canada. According to a report from the Associated Press, it was out of an abundance of caution.
Exhausting. It was an exhausting, frustrating experience.
An exhausting and frustrating experience for not only Cedar Springs resident Rebecca Casavant, but for many others. In an article from the Associated Press, Delta Flight 135 from Amsterdam to Detroit had to make an unplanned landing in Goose Bay, Newfoundland, after having mechanical issues. A Delta spokesperson said the airline worked with officials in Goose Bay to arrange for food, water, and accommodations for passengers from Sunday into Monday. But Casavant says that isn't the case, and that for 24 hours, she and other passengers were left without a meal and without answers.
They just were not communicating with us on what was happening, and they could do so much better with communication. And I think they could have done better in keeping us fed with more adequate food other than snacks and small meals and pizza. We were not informed why it was taking so long for a second plane to come, when initially they did say, oh, it'll be 3, maybe 4 hours.
Casavant says for hours, she and 270 other passengers remained landed and inside the plane that was having mechanical issues with the de-icer for one of the engines. It wasn't until about midnight Monday morning when the second plane to take them home arrived, but their journey was far from over. Casavant says more hours had passed, and then it was announced they had to get off the new plane and stay in military barracks for the night.
We didn't really understand. They weren't explaining why this had happened, and it was kind of unbelievable. But there was also a little bit of relief because we had been on that plane for so long, sitting in these small plane seats, that okay, at least we'll get off this plane for a little while.
After spending the night in the barracks, buses took the passengers to the new plane. But it wasn't until Monday evening around 5 o'clock that they were on their way back to Detroit.
Everybody, there was some cheering that happened on the plane, and I think people were just relieved that this part of their journey was over, to be on the ground and know that, okay, time to move on and put this behind us and move forward.
Delta also provided refunds on those flights. Brian?